Hey everybody, welcome back. Look at Sock Monkey. Sock Monkey, how is it possible that I just groomed you and you look like that? I don't blame her, I blame the weather. So she clearly still had some cashmere left on her, and the couple of days of heat have obviously encouraged her to blow that coat. Thankfully, the grooming that I did will help that move along. But look at her right now. I mean, gee whiz. I literally, like a week ago, groomed her, and she looks a hot mess. Hi, Denali. I know, you're mad at us because you're on a diet. You are looking a little better, though. You're getting there. Fantastic news from the world of our vet. So I told you, I think I told you, I can't remember anymore, that we did decide to do some official fecals on Emma and Fanta, primarily for my own mental health and well-being, I suppose. I do it myself, and I've gotten what I would call pretty proficient at it, but you know, it's not perfect, it's not professional, I'm not trained, I'm not, you know, I didn't go to school for it and all the rest. So while I thought they were free and clear of worms, because I couldn't find any eggs, there's always the chance that I didn't prepare the sample right, or I missed it because my eyes aren't trained to look for eggs, etc. So having a professional opinion doesn't hurt at all, and I'm always grateful that I have access to be able to get that done. So their fecal results came back. I'm going to have to jump the fence because it's windy. I put the baby bottle up on the fence line, and it has blown off because I'm not the smartest person in the world. And common sense would have said that it's windy, don't do that. At any rate, sorry. So fecals came back completely negative. Not a single egg, not a single indication that there's any worms in either of the goats. And that is fantastic, right? And it really is. It's good news. It means that what we're seeing with our goats and our body condition, their hair coat, how they're feeling, how they're acting, is based on them, right? It's not based on them having parasites. It's not based on them fighting something, an illness or anything else. And that gives us a really good baseline for where we're at. It's also why, and I think this is really important, it's why I do not worm our goats on a schedule. And a lot of people do. And if you have a large herd, it's totally appropriate to do that. But I don't have a large herd. I have a handful of animals in the scheme of things. It feels large, I'm sure, if you don't have a farm. But if you do have a farm, I have a really tiny herd. And most people would say I don't have a farm, I have pets. I would disagree, but you know, it's semantics at that point. So we do not worm on a rotational schedule. We worm based on how the animal looks, how they are acting, how they feel, what their body condition is. And that is why it's so important for me, in particular, to have them up on the grooming stand. I mean, they need their hooves done, so that's mandatory. But while they're up there, running a brush through their coat, putting my hands all over their body, I get to know their body condition, their normal look and feel, their, you know, what they are like in peak condition, what they're like when they're starting to get pregnant, what they're like as they start to get older. And it gives me the ability to act quickly if I see something change. Right? And that is the key. So if I see something change, you know, the first thing we're going to do, depending on what it is, there's some options. I'm either going to take a temperature to see if they're sick, right? Or I'm going to take a fecal and see if they're wormy. Those are the first two things that are, you know, option A and B, right? Either they're sick and they have a temperature, or their body condition is off and they have worms. Those are the most common aspects of that. If none of that were to come back with any results, right? So their temperature is normal and I don't find any eggs or, you know, in their fecal, then I would move to next step. And again, we're talking within the same day, right? Of, okay, what's next? Do I need a vet? Is this something that's safe to watch and wait a day or two? More likely than not, I'll be contacting a vet to say, okay, like, I've exhausted all of my thoughts. They're not ill, they're not wormy, but I'm still seeing something that I don't like. Let's see, do you need to come lay hands on them? Do we need to do something more invasive or more diagnostic? Ultrasounds are possible, x-rays, things like that. All right. I don't call my vet in for everything. Generally speaking, we don't need that. And certainly, my vets couldn't support that even if I wanted it, right? They don't live here. It's not their animals. You've got to be able to do a lot of that on your own. But I also know when I've exhausted the level of knowledge that I have and safely can assess before I need the professionals. So no worms in Fanta and Emma. Fantastic. That pretty much means no worms in anybody because, our old ladies would be the most susceptible at this point. And certainly we know that Denali's body condition is great. In fact, I was teasing her the other day that she could probably do with a few worms. Worms take the nutrition from their gut. So while that's a complete joke, please, I'm not advocating that you let your goats be wormy if they're fat. It would be, one way to bleed off some of that tubbiness. It's starting to rain. Awesome. I should know that because they're all hanging here at the barn. And it is supposed to rain all on and off all day. So apparently I'm going to get wet on the way back to the house. So really good news on the gang. And I wanted to update that because I know I talked a little bit about, decisions we may need to make with our old gals. We're still in that position, but our information has changed, right? Our information is interesting. So, of course, we took baseline weights. And the day that I was recording, I hadn't even gone back to the house to put all that information into my database. It was just off the cuff, like, vet just left. Here's what happened. So when we went back, both my vet and I went back to our respective databases. I'm making up words all the time now. To enter all of the information, all the weights and everything else, what we discovered is both Fanta and Emma actually are up a few, like literally a pound or two each from last year at this time. So despite the fact that I think they look thin, I feel that their body condition is off, I'm not happy with how they look. The information at our fingertips now is these guys survived a really harsh winter and maintained their own body weight. In fact, gained a little bit, not much, but a little bit. And their condition really hasn't changed from last year when they were 13. That changes my thoughts on where we were. And to be perfectly honest with you, Farm Hubby and I were wondering if we needed to not even put these guys through the heat of a New Jersey summer. And now my thought process has changed a little bit, right? Fanta still has good days and bad days. So, she's certainly still on a watch list where if the bad days outnumber the good days, quality of life is much more important than quantity. But Emma, who has not had bad days, who still hangs out in the pasture, grazes, likes to help raise babies, is constantly a part of the herd. My thoughts have changed a lot. Like, we may keep riding this out for a while. So I just wanted to give you that update because the news is fabulous. It does change my thoughts and perspectives on these guys. Again, it doesn't necessarily change what the outcome may or may not be as the weeks and months progress. These guys are older goats. They are senior goats. But it does give me more information to make decisions. And right now, the information we have is good news. So we're going to ride that out, right? Aren't we, Miss Fanta? I know, my sweetheart. It's really hard when you're dealing with the first of anything, right? These are our first two goats ever. This is what started the goat journey. And then we ended up with Denali. No, I'm kidding. So that's the update. Now that it's nice and rainy, I'm going to go ahead and get the doggies in. Look, Hugo is doing well. He's still running the farm. He's back in action. And I'm going to get them out of the rain before I get pneumonia next. Oh, great, Bailey. Nothing like peeing on camera. It is a farm video. And I will talk to you guys at the next one. So until then, there's work to be done. Bye for now.